And say, hello, everybody. It's Monday, June 26th, last of our practice groups for the month of June already, halfway through the year. And so I suddenly triggered some amazement in me. And it's Tuesday in India and Asia. And I'm actually feeling happy in the moment and curious. We did a version of this class on Saturday. And it's a little bit different than how we've usually taught this in the past, and it went really well. So I hope it also serves you. And how are you?
Oh, I feel a little bit tired, but really happy to see you all. It's energizing my being. And there's something about, partnership in the way we want to see the world that makes such a huge difference. Just that you're here with an intention, some of the same intentionality, both for yourself and maybe for the world. Maybe it's just for yourself right now. That's okay too. Yeah.
So if you're here for the first time, I want to give you a special warm welcome. I'm always amazed that people find us, and I love it when new people come. We have usually a few new people every week. And just give you a little overview of what we do here. This is a nonviolent communication practice group. Nonviolent communication being the process created by Marshall Rosenberg, beginning back in the 1960s. Now we have over 700 certified trainers around the world, which Jim and Joy are two of them. And we practice NVC here. NVC is a shortcut for nonviolent communication. And here we practice. So you'll have the opportunity to practice both with yourself, considering what your own observations, feelings, needs, and requests are when we do a self-connection exercise. And then also you'll get a chance to practice both empathy, which is the listening part of NVC, and the honesty in small groups. If for some reason you don't want to be in a small group, then I mourn that, because it's the best part of the whole class. What happens in the small group is the most important thing. And we try to spend, as much time as possible. I think today there's 3 small groups planned. And, but of course, you never know what happens when you plan something. But if you don't want to be in a small group, then just change your name and put an equal sign.
You can keep your name, just put an equal sign in front of it.
You can change your name by putting an equal sign in front of it. Yeah. And that'll let us know not to put you into a small group. Actually, we'll still put you into a small group, but just with a whole bunch of other people with equal signs in their name. And we call that the library.
Yeah, I really appreciate being able to see your names. I have terrible memory for names, but it really helps me to kind of anchor you a bit more for me.
And some people love to practice in their birth language. So if that's true for you and you speak a language other than English, you can also add that to your name. So if you speak Mandarin or Japanese or Spanish or whatever, just add that in parentheses after your name. And then I will do my best to put you with somebody else who speaks your language. If not, it defaults to English.
Yeah, and you may have a different language, but if you want it to default to English, that's okay. But if there is another language, just put it in parentheses if you're willing to support other people that may have a more challenging time being in English in the small group.
Yep. Okay, so I think we're ready to start. And I don't see, I thought somebody was going to come today and sing a song, but they're not here. So we'll do exactly what we did on Saturday, which is start with listening to Marshall Rosenberg. So before we do that, I would like to just invite you to take a couple of minutes, just if you'd like, to close your eyes and rest. You probably all had busy days or are anticipating them. So just take 30 seconds. Close your eyes. And notice with your eyes closed how your body feels. Just paying attention to any sensations that you notice in your body. can also be helpful to name the sensations. So for example, you might notice shallow breathing or tightness in my neck or tingle, kind of an overall tingle, or whatever it is for you, maybe an ache or a pain. Just notice and name. Allow yourself to have these sensations. Also make room for emotions as they rise and fall. Maybe you're feeling curious. Maybe you're bored. Maybe you're excited. Maybe you're happy, or sad. Notice, then name. And consider what those feelings are telling you about the state of your needs right now. What's important to you as our call begins? What needs are you hoping to meet by being here? I love to close my eyes and then open them and see new people have arrived. So I'm going to play a little short video. It's actually not a video, even though it's on YouTube. It's just the audio. It's the audio of Marshall Rosenberg speaking about our topic today, which is about how to receive no as a gift. And so invite you to just put everything away if possible and just tune into Marshall and see what you can take away from what he's sharing with us today.
Now, I said that one of the challenging messages to hear in an empathic way is when somebody is telling us what's wrong with us. Another message that I have found very important to hear empathically is the message, no, or I don't want to, or I'm not willing. In our nonviolent communication training, we show people how to hear the human behind the no. To be conscious that if we hear a no, we're hearing very little about what's really alive in this person at this moment. And we need to do the same thing with the no as we do if somebody is telling us what's wrong with us. To hear through the message to what is alive in the person when they say this. More specifically, what are they feeling and needing? We show people that a no is a poor expression of what a person is needing. For example, many of the parents that I work with, this is one of the messages that they find hardest to deal with in their children. They say, Marshall, what do you do when I tell my son it's time for him to go to bed? And he says, no, I don't want to go. I suggest to them to hear, what is the person feeling and needing when they say that? We'll learn a lot about what's going on by doing that. And again, we'll show the person that we are more interested in the connection with them than in their immediately responding to our requests. And that, as I say, is a very powerful message when people trust that the connection is valued over their submission to whatever we are requesting. A mother tried this out with her son after she asked me in a workshop, Marshall, how do you deal with a child who says no when I tell him it's time to go to school? He says, I don't want to go to school. No, I don't want to go to school. She says, he says that over and over. No, I don't want to go to school. How do you deal with that? And I worked with her on how to try to hear the feelings and the needs behind the no. The next morning she came into the workshop beaming and thanked me for this. She said, Marshall, it was so precious to see what was really alive in him behind the no. Until you showed me how to hear his feelings and needs behind the no, I would immediately start to give him reasons why he had to go to school. And the more I'd do that, the more resistant he became. But as a result of our session yesterday, I tried to hear what he was feeling and needing. And I said to him, are you angry at my asking you to get ready for school because you have a need to have more time to play here now? And she said, I thought that was really it, Marshall. But then he said, no, it's all about the future, Mom. And then I had to really strain to hear what was he feeling and needing when he said it's all about the future. But I started to get it. I said, you mean you're disappointed because you're not learning things that are really meeting your needs now? Yeah, Mom. You know, they just say you have to learn this so that you'll get a good grade, and then you'll be able to go into other classes, and then eventually you'll get a better job. And she said I could really see why it was so hard for him to want to go to school every day when it really wasn't meeting his need for something that was valuable to him now, when it was all about the future, how little energy he could have for wanting to go to school. And then the telephone rang, and I went to answer it. And when I came back, he was ready for school. And when she told me this about this young man who, after the empathy, all of a sudden was ready to go to school, I could think of several examples of that, where people brought their children to me because they weren't wanting to go to school. And when I empathized with what needs of theirs weren't being met by the school, the parents would then say to me later, what did you do to convince him that he needs to go to school? And I said, I didn't try to do any convincing. I just tried to empathically connect with what needs were keeping them from wanting to go to school, from enjoying the school. And just the empathy helped them. Even though they might not want to go, they did understand some of the reasons why they would benefit by going. And by getting the empathy, they could go to school, but with a different energy than when they didn't have the empathy.
So take a minute and let that message soak in for you. And going to open up some small groups for you. The groups are groups of 3 mostly.
Except for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the group will last for 13 minutes. You'll see a timer in the upper right-hand corner of your screen that counts down from 12. And then there'll be 1 minute at the end. You can just sit on your hands. You don't need to do anything when you get a message that the breakout room is closing. You just stay there. You'll automatically come back here when it's over. And what are you supposed to do in this small group? Well, it's a chance to practice honesty and empathy. So the question is, what comes up for you after hearing Marshall? And then for the people that are listening to you, they get to listen with silent empathy about what your experience is like. So they're not going to be trying to give you any advice or give you any sort of correction or anything like that. They're just listening with silence, just letting you express whatever you want. After a couple of minutes, then you switch and let somebody else speak. And make sure that everybody gets a chance. Everybody has about 2 or 3 minutes, which is way too much time for some people and not anywhere near enough time for other people. But so you'll work that out. And let's see if there's anything else. You can also, of course, introduce yourself if there are new people there that you haven't met before. So you just might say, hey, I'm Jim from Maui, and what comes up for me about that video was blah, 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 whatever it is for you.
Yeah. So there are groups of 2 and 3.
And we'll see you back here in 13 minutes. Enjoy getting to connect with somebody.
Mhm. Coming,
Here we go.
almost.
Oh, most people are
There
there.
it goes. Okay.
It's like I came in two groups today. Still not totally. Yep,
No.
there's another gang. Okay, they're kind of trickling in here.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I've never seen it go this slow. But
yeah.
here, I think we're,
We could be having, we had some internet problems the other day. I had to cancel a class. That was terrible. But today it seems like okay.
we'll cross our fingers.
And if we ended up putting you in a group and you didn't want to be in a group, we dismissed it. And we'll fix it this time. So you can check again, because we will be doing another group. And so there's at least one person that ended up in a group that they didn't want to be in. So, and we have a new person arriving. So that's all fixed now. And this is the time during the class where we get to start practicing honesty and empathy in the large group, which can be really, really scary for some people. So you don't have to do it. You only do it if it sounds like fun to you. And the idea here is that maybe you want to share, be heard about what your experience has been like so far. And so we set aside some time here now, just if you want to raise your hand and be heard, then you can push the little reaction button on the bottom of your screen. Looks like a little smiley face. There's a place there that you can raise your hand. I might be able to see if you went like this, but if I don't acknowledge you, it's because I didn't see you. So does anybody like to share anything about your reaction or response to Marshall's video or audio, or anything about what happened in your small group? Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you for the opportunity. When his talk started, he talked about we've just learned how to deal with people telling us what's wrong with us. And I thought to myself, I've never heard Marshall speak on that subject. I really want to hear how to deal with that. And so that was the first connection point for me. It really drew me into what he was saying. And so I had a lot of gratitude, but that is something that I would like to learn more about at some point, is how to deal with.
Thank you for the feedback. And I'll tell you, learning to hear the gift in the no, it's really the same skill set as learning to hear blame or criticism. And we will definitely do a class soon on how to hear other people's diagnoses of us when they think we've done something wrong.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
thank you.
today's a good setup for it. Anything else, Jeff?
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah, Cecilia.
Oh, thank you. Well, for me, there were two things that became alive for me. I mean, of course, the example with the kid that doesn't want to go to school. I have a teenager. Many days he doesn't want to wake up early to go to school, which has given me a lot of chances this year. And I'm appreciating the process of growing into learning how to hear no and being in curiosity around what is leading him not to want to go to school, and having more conversations, and also some understandings around, like, okay, I'm not going to excuse you. We're not going to school because you played video games until 2 a.m. and now you're tired, but it's okay. You're not gonna go to school, and we'll just keep an eye on that, because there's only so many times that you can miss school. Of course, before I would say, no, you go to school even tired. So the other touch point for me was connection over submission.
Yeah.
So just seeing how that is unfolding for me over time. I don't think I'm there yet. I still have more to grow. So who knows, maybe next year he's going to continue to give me opportunities, but I'm just appreciating that it is a long journey. It's not like I'm going to get it right this time. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. And that's what it is.
You win
So,
some and you lose some, but
Yeah.
I really like your insight about kind of catching that piece about connection versus submission, and how you're using this with your kid. Is it a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
Yeah, and you're using this as an opportunity to practice connection and to not expect that you're going to do it perfectly. And so I really appreciate that. And then you said something that amused me. You said, I wonder if he'll keep giving me chances to practice next year. And I predict, how old is he?
16.
16. So I predict, at least 50 more years of practice. Yeah. Yeah, we get
Hey,
If you're lucky.
yeah.
I just keep coming back here, because I need to hear a yes sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Yes. Yeah. I've never heard of anybody trying this strategy, but just kind of a flash of a possibility of after doing some connection around it with your kid and empathizing with why they don't want to go to school. I just imagined myself maybe in a role of mentor or granddad rather than parent at this point, because my kids are 40. But saying to the kid, I noticed that I'm so challenged by hearing no so often. And I would just love to have the experience in my body of what a yes would feel like. So could we just practice and you just say yes? I won't ask you to do anything that you probably really don't want to do, but I just want to really enjoy what it's like to hear yes from you.
Wow.
I love that invitation.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to try it out, Jim. Thank you so much. I feel
Sure.
gifted.
Let me know if it's a disaster or if it actually helps.
Will do. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm complete.
Thanks, Cecilia.
Thank you.
And let's see here. This is Vivek. Go ahead, Vivek.
Hello. Hey, it is so beautiful to be here. I haven't had the opportunity to attend one of your sessions in a while, and so I'm very thankful for the opportunity too. What really connected with me about that video, right? And this is something I see. So I have a soon to be 7 and soon to be 10-year-old. And in my conversations, especially with my 10-year-old, often when he does something which I deem is unskillful because what he did does not meet some of my needs, I will tend to say, hey, dude, could you do this instead? And what I've come to realize, right, that another NVC concept which I learned recently, which is I employ this strategy and justify this strategy based on my needs, while what I should instead do is seek to understand his needs and devise brand new strategies which meet all our needs.
Oh, wow.
And
Nice.
yeah, and that is something which I can't claim to have started doing with any degree of skill, but it's certainly an aspiration and an intention, and that is how all practices start. So I'm there. That's good. But the other thing I've come to appreciate is that trying to step into his shoes, the worst thing to feel is to feel misunderstood or not understood. And that is how he must feel when he does something which everybody around him feels is wrong or not good or not skillful. It must feel like being like somebody put it, a frog in a bowl of snakes. And the other thing which I want to read about and learn, somebody recommended I look at it, is this thing called mirroring, which is make him feel a little bit more understood in these situations. And finally, I just wanted to end with the thing you talked about, Jim, that hey, give him the practice of saying yes, perhaps by making offers to him, which he's definitely going to say yes to. Like, hey, would you like to go for ice cream next Sunday? Would you like to get another 15 minutes of screen time? Blah, blah, blah. Sounds like an interesting one. I'm going to try that.
Okay, let me know how it goes.
See what we can all learn.
Yeah, wonderful. Actually, we might have invented something completely new today. All right, so let's go back to another practice here. And I'm going to share my screen with you. This will be a written practice to set us up for the next breakout room. So if you've got a journal handy, or you can write on your phone or your tablet or your computer if you want to. So by the way, the practice, the class today is called Hearing No as a Gift. And so just think of what a wild idea that is. that when someone says no, it's a gift. So let's see if we can find out if it's true for you in any way. So we're going to turn it around to start with, because sometimes you say no. So think of a time when you said no to someone who recently asked you to do something, and write down a description of the moment. So just kind of set the scene as if you're writing a little bit of a play. Who are you talking to? Where are you? Just a brief description of the moment. And then as you connect more deeply with it, as the memory becomes clearer for you, you can imagine just what you heard the other person's request would be. And I think you have an example, right? So Jory has an example. What was going on?
Yeah, so Jim came to me and asked me to go for a walk, and I was in the middle of a project
And you said no.
and I said no.
Yeah, that's the observation. So notice how our tendency is to want to explain the whole story. And in this case, just write down the observation. What I heard is no. Or what I said was, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Let me see here. Is something
No,
wrong
it's
about
what-
this question? Yeah.
What you
You s-
said was no.
Yeah. What you said was no. Yeah. So write down the observation when you said no.
No.
This is still not quite right.
You said no to someone who recently asked you to do something.
Oh, right. So in Jory's case, what she heard, now I got clear on the observation. What you heard me say is, would you be willing to take a walk?
Right.
So that's the first step, is what did you hear as the request? If you have embellished the observation with any kind of evaluation or opinion or anything like that, like I heard Jim nag me about taking a walk again. That would be mixing in evaluation with observation. When instead of adding the diagnosis that Jim's a nagger, just keep it to the observation. I heard Jim ask me to take a walk. I heard Jim say, would you like to go for a walk with me? We all need practice with this distinguishing between observation and observation mixed with evaluation. So it's really great to take that extra 15 seconds or 30 seconds to
Yeah.
just clarify what this is, just what you heard, not what
Mhm.
it's not.
Not your opinions about it.
Yeah.
Just what you heard.
And then the next question is an invitation to go into your personal experience. We already set it up. This is a time when you wanted to say no. How did you know that you wanted to say no? How did you know, Jory? With just talking about what you notice in your
Yeah,
body, or
that's exactly what I tune into, is some sense of constriction
Mhm.
in me at the thought of going.
So in other words, maybe you made an image of going for a walk, a thought,
No,
a
it
thought,
was actually physical.
and then you had this physical
Yeah,
reaction,
yeah.
and there was a sense of constriction.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened for you? How did you know that you wanted to say no? Be specific as you describe it and break it down for practice, starting with sensations. Sensations are these biological reactions that we have to a stimulus. Could be painful, could be pleasant, could be like a tingle or a tightness, a constriction, like Jory said. And emotions refer to something where we're trying to make meaning with our emotions. We're trying to figure out, are we feeling anxious or sad or hungry or annoyed? So notice and name your emotions. Let's pause here and see if anybody needs some support in answering this question about sensations or emotions or the observations. So far we're focusing on the observations and the feelings. Anybody have any questions or need some support here? Go ahead, Kim.
Oh, I don't really think I need support. I probably just want to read it and see if I've done it right.
Go ahead. Go
Yeah,
ahead. Check it out.
please.
Confirm for
Yeah.
yourself.
Okay. Okay. Mom asked me to carry the box with her. She said, "Can we carry it together?"
Mhm,
I said, "No.
mhm.
I need to be able to move the way I need to." How I knew? I felt crowded. I was afraid of the usual awkwardness. I knew there wasn't space for both our bodies and it would be painful because it would be impossible to coordinate the movements. So it wouldn't make me bend and twist and pull me off my center of gravity and pull my joints out of my.
Yeah, so it sounds like you had a combination of body sensations, emotions, and then your brain did this magic thing that brains do. It made a prediction about what would happen if you said yes to the request, and you made a little movie that looked painful. Why would anybody want to say yes to go into this movie, right? Yeah,
Right.
so wonderful that you had that level of detail that you could see not only feelings and sensations, emotions, and also images and thoughts. Wonderful. Anybody else have anything? Yeah, Vivek.
Two examples I'd like to share. So first is I encountered this frequently with my kids. For example, where they might be like, "Hey, can I get another 15 minutes or 30 minutes of screen time?" And over there, it's just no. And it's just because, hey, we agreed on this together, we drafted these rules together, and you agreed that those were the rules. Hence, there are the rules. There can be a time for discussion, but that time is not now. But that doesn't connect so much with this exercise. I think what connected with this exercise is times when I say no to myself. Like say, for example, say in the evening, suppose there's something I need to review and I want to write a detailed response to that. I'll sometimes check in with myself and think about what will that take. I will need a certain amount of energy and clarity, and I don't have that energy and clarity right now. So I'll just say, not much no, but just not now. And then I'll just choose to postpone it to later.
Yeah. And how do you know that you want to say no, either to your kid or to yourself? What's the inner signal that you're noticing?
I think the way I think about it is almost like thinking fast and slow. In the kid example, this is a decision I have encountered like 100 times. And so it is almost an automatic denial, so to speak. And in the example of no to myself, these situations are often very specific where I will consider it and like, hey, what I would try to imagine what it would be like to engage in that task and try to estimate what kind of energy and clarity it would take, and then make a decision that, hey, this is not the right time given what it would take to accomplish the outcome.
Yeah, so I'm catching how well you have trained yourself to notice the quality of your thinking. And that gives you a lot of information about whether you want to say yes or no.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, that's right. Now that you mention it, yeah.
All right, thank you. And let's go to Rob next, and then we'll go back to practice.
Yeah, hi, Jim and Jerry. Yeah, I say I have trouble saying no, or it's more complicated than I think. And so, for instance, my partner was saying, "Yeah, let's take the dog on vacation," and then I'm going, "Oh, that's going to make it, 30% more expensive." But we're not doing much together, and she's living with my 2 kids, and so I go into the consideration and all this other stuff, and I maybe wisely don't say no, actually, because there's a lot involved there. She is saying yes to living with my 2 30-year-olds, more or less saying yes, and so I feel grateful and indebted, and
Yeah, this
don't
is
think I want to say no to her.
yeah. So you're kind of in the middle. So
Yeah.
for the exercise, you might want to rewind and go to a clear no, somebody that you already said no to. Sounds like this one still might be in process.
I was trying to think of that, and I don't say no hardly ever, it seems like. I don't,
Okay,
I'm
well,
always,
you're saying no to
So-
me right now. So you could choose that one.
hey, thank you.
Yeah.
Well
No,
done,
Jim,
well
I'm not
done.
going to do it. Boy, that feels great.
Because
Yeah.
somebody-
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so let's go back to the practice. And you probably, those of you who've been here before, you can already predict the next step, which is go back and re-engage. Hang on just a second.
Someone's not assigned.
Okay, just a
Okay.
second. And we're still going to finish the written part.
Good.
Okay. Reconnect to the memory of you saying no. So bring it back to mind as vividly as you can. And get in touch with especially your body, the feelings and the needs. Yeah, there are thoughts. That's important too. But even underneath those thoughts, there are emotions. So reconnect with those and then see if you can link your thoughts, feelings, sensations, and emotions to your needs. I will leave this up on the screen and be quiet for a couple minutes while you contemplate it, but I'll say what we always say. If you have a need that's not on this list, trust what your heart is telling you is the need that's alive in you.
And as I often add, and check if that's really the need or if there's something even deeper underneath it.
Hey guys, sorry, quick interruption. I don't know if it's just me, but I'm seeing some large black rectangles on the graphic that you guys are sharing. Oh,
Okay.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a Zoom setting that I've changed. So I'm going to have to go and change that Zoom setting after the call. You shouldn't see those blocks, but they did update their software recently. So that must be it. Thanks for letting me know.
You can see the roots.
No. No. And if there's a willingness in you to share the needs that are coming up for you, you can put them into the chat. That can be really helpful for somebody. But let me just check in with you, Jory. I asked you to go for a walk
Mhm,
and you had this feeling of constriction.
mhm.
And what's it about for you? What's the need?
I was in the middle of a project. I wanted some sense of completion. Yeah, and then it was also about integrity for me to do what I had agreed I would do.
So completion and integrity are important to you. Okay. So now you do the same thing with yourself. So as you read these needs as they come by, see if that stimulates your own empathy for yourself, for your own experience. For the recording, I'll read a few of them. Choice, respect, being known, integrity, play, self-expression, autonomy, any other needs. Love to see about 10 more needs up there. If you're having trouble catching your need, let me know by raising your hand. We'll slow down. Rest, understanding, nurturance, ease and choice, affection, love, understanding, security and calm. So the follow-on question is, what needs did you say yes to instead of saying yes to the request? These are the needs that came alive, and where did you follow life? What needs did you say yes to when you said no to the request? Again, you can put that into the chat if you'd like. Yes to the needs for harmony and ease. Asta, you have a question or something you'd like to say?
Yeah, a question. How is this different from the last question?
Well, because that's a great question. But sometimes what I notice in my own experience is I might have more needs than I can say yes to coming up in a given moment. But I still want to slow things down, acknowledge all the needs that are present, and then acknowledge for myself the need that's driving me to say no. Does that help?
So more number of needs that I might be willing to say yes to while I'm saying no is what I am looking into.
Yeah, that might be right. Let me do it for myself. So let's just say, let's say that I'm right in the middle of this practice group, and the man that's doing some work on our house, he sticks his head in through the door and he says, "Jim, have you got a minute?" And so I noticed this impulse to say no. And if I check in what the needs are underneath that impulse, There's a need for integrity, connection with the group, connection with Jimmy, the guy that's working on the house, and clarity, kind of mutual clarity. And the need that's driving me to say no is I want to stay focused on you guys for the next couple of hours. But those other needs are important. I still want to connect with what his question is. I'm just putting it on the shelf. Does that help, Asta? Okay, good. All right.
And so, and this one is the bigger bucket of needs. This
Yeah, the
question
first
that
one's
you
a bigger bucket, the second one's a small bucket. You got it. That's a beautiful metaphor.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go talk about it. Let's go talk about what your experience was with some friends. And because you can probably answer your own questions better than I can. And when you have the sense of connection with some other people. So again, this is the opportunity to everybody have about 5 minutes this time. And the idea is that you take turns. One person shares what you learned or what your experience was through connecting with why you said no and the needs that you were saying yes to. And then after a couple minutes, you finish up. If you have a request, you can ask. And then if not, let the next person, invite the next person to speak. So everyone will have about 5 minutes. There'll be 1 minute at the end. So the timer will say, we'll start at 15 this time.
And they're
14.
groups of 2 and 3.
Yeah. All right. See you back here in 15 minutes. Everybody else will be back in 15 seconds.
Is that okay? Oh, I was going to ask Carrie something. Never mind. Then- other people.
Mute myself at the more of the second line. There we go. People are creeping back in now. I would say my experience of this Zoom software update is it has slowed things down a little bit. But there's nothing I can do about that. So I'd love to hear from 1 or 2 people before we do the next exercise. Did you have any insights or takeaways from this practice? What did you learn? I'd love to hear from 1 or 2 people. Allison. Need to unmute yourself, so to speak.
There you are.
I really got a lot out of this. The 3 people, myself included, had very specific, with your questions being so precise, with the observations and what was the need that we were acting on. And it was very strengthening to hear the 3 of us give these very succinct and clear examples of sort of recognizing the situation, recognizing the need that was important to us, and taking action to support honoring that need. And I feel very strengthened by that. So I appreciate you're setting this up.
Thank you.
very
I like that.
grateful.
I'm
Thank you.
savoring your takeaway. Corey.
There she is.
You're still silent
You're
mode.
muted. There you
Okay.
go.
Yeah, we had a wonderful
Thanks.
breakout, and it's such a great reminder that, when I'm saying no, to check in with the other party for their benefit, obviously, as well as mine, and how much it helped me to find out what their needs were, around that thing that I was saying no to. And I'd kind of forgotten that, because I think that it's how much it helps me as well as them. It's a kind thing, so to speak, to do for them, to let them know what's behind my no, but it also really helps me to understand them better. So I got more clarity about that.
Mhm.
And at some point in this meeting, if I'm brave enough, I wrote a poem about this years ago when I was, many years ago, inspired by Imbal Kashtan, working with young children, and she called it the yes and the no. And so if you'd like to hear that, maybe at the end I could read that.
Sounds
Like-
lovely. I look forward to
Yeah.
it.
Okay,
Thank you, Corey.
sure.
So here's the designed takeaway. It sounds like you got it, that there's always a need behind your no.
Mhm.
And so this helps us to avoid submission. That's the main, another piece of the main takeaway. Remember, Marshall talked about submission. There's a price to pay when we submit. So if we stay connected to our own need, it'll keep us from submitting to kind of automatically to the request, because we know that we're serving life when we say no. It's nothing personal about the other. It's about us serving life, serving the needs that we've identified. So let's practice again. This time, turn it around and think of a time when you heard no, when you asked someone to do something. So now you're on the receiving end of the no rather than the giving end of the no. So now I asked Jory to take the walk. And I heard her say no. So that's a description of the moment. And what I specifically said was, as far as I can remember, was, hey, Jory, my body I've been cooped up downstairs in my office for a while, and I really need to stretch and move my body. I bet it would be good for you too. Would you be willing to go for a walk for me? So that's what I said. What did you say? Just before you heard no. Richard, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. Could this exercise work if the person never verbally said no, but their actions did?
Yeah, you heard what it says is when you heard no. So
So
sometimes we hear no with body language, right? And so I think that may be what you're talking about. Is that right?
It's more like someone coming over to fix something and they said they would and they didn't.
Uh-huh. Well, you could try it, see what you learn. I'm curious. It's kind of like asking your kid to turn the iPad off, and they kind of nod their head, but they don't do it. And so that kind of looks like a no to me. So let's see what happens. I say try it,
Yeah, I
see what
can
you
see it
learn.
fitting there.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You know, actions speak louder than words, right?
They do. And nonverbals speak more than words sometimes. Yeah. Third step. What did you hear that sounded like no to you?
And in your case, perhaps it's what did you see? Because they walked away.
Yeah. In my case, it was clear. I'm lucky enough to live with an NVC trainer. And in that particular moment, I heard her say something like, no, I want to finish this.
Yeah. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm just talking about what I
Yeah.
heard, not what you
Mhm.
said.
Yeah.
That's two different things. That's one of the main points of slowing it down and breaking the practice up like this. We had even though we shared an experience, we had two different experiences. And this can be the source of conflict sometimes. So what did you hear that sounded like a no to you? And again, follow this observation with connection to your body's reaction. What sensations or emotions did you notice when you heard that no, or when you saw that no?
Mhm.
And going a little bit faster this time, so there's time for you to connect about it. What need is alive in you? What's the specific question is, what needs are linked to those sensations and emotions? What needs are linked to those feelings?
So what was right before that, when I heard the no?
Yeah. When you first, the first thing is you heard the no,
Uh-huh.
then you connected to the sensations and emotions, and now you're
Sensations.
connecting those sensations and emotions to your needs. Why are you, in other words, why are you feeling what you're feeling?
Yeah, what's the stimulus?
This is the stimulus. What did you hear?
Mhm.
And now we're looking at the needs that are underneath the feelings and emotions. Exactly. Richard, you have a question? Or is that an old hand?
Is it okay if they're unmet needs?
Oh, yeah, I would expect they would be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But they might not be. I mean, it could be something different. Again, it can be helpful for everyone else in the community to put your needs in the chat. Somehow it's humanizing to see
Mhm.
that you're not
Yeah.
the only one with these needs.
Mhm.
It actually can lead to a sense of belonging and mutuality when you see that you might share somebody else's needs with a similar observation. Thank you for those of you putting them in. That's really helpful. Yeah. And as you read the needs, if you're wanting to have some pleasure reading, just read these needs and savor them. They belong to all of us. There's something that we share, part of our universal humanity.
Mhm.
We
Now-
change it just a little bit now to empathize with ourselves. These are the needs that are alive in you as you hear the no, the ones that you've identified in the chat, the ones that you've written down. So now give yourself some empathy about it. And what I mean by that is to speak to yourself in a warm voice that acknowledges your feelings and your needs. Yeah. So for example,
Wait, when you heard.
Jory, I hear Jory say no. And so Jim, when you hear Jory say no, are you feeling disappointed? Because were really wanting some connection and company? Something like that. So this can be very brief. And as you give yourself this warm, accepting message, it's okay to have these needs. It's okay to feel whatever you feel. So it's okay to be a human being. Then return to observing and presence. Come back into this present moment again. And now you do the PhD work. What's your guess about the feelings of the person you heard say no? So now you're putting yourself in their shoes with empathy. And so now I imagine that I'm Jory, and I can make an image in my head that she's sitting at her desk and she's working on something on her computer is what it looks like. And so I imagine when she's saying no, and I get the benefit of being able to check it out. Plus she's already told me a few minutes ago, but it's like, I'm guessing you're saying no because you want a chance to finish, to complete your project. Yeah. So now you're simply making a guess about what the need is that might be alive in the other person. And we're going to go back to small groups again to talk about this. Will be a little bit briefer this time because we're getting close to the top of the hour here and the bottom of the hour in India. So this time we'll have 12 minutes. So for most of you, that means you have 4 minutes to talk about your experience. And we'll be back here in 12 minutes.
Just the other way. Let's have fast. People are coming back right now.
I'm sorry, what?
People are coming back right now, just so you know that you and Jim to be able to bring forth.
Thank you. Yes, I do.
And here we are.
So take a minute after having had this experience of being with friends in the small group. You can even just close your eyes if you're willing and allow our whole time together to soak in a little bit. Let whatever happened for you today register in your nervous system, in your heart. And the class started with this idea that hearing no was a gift. And this last exercise, we discovered that behind the no is a need. And that's the gift. So there's your need, and then there's the other person's need. Those are the two gifts that are always available to connect with when we hear or say no. And next week, we'll keep going, moving towards collaboration. But now that we've identified all these needs, what are we going to do about it? But for today, just end with a minute or so of writing, and write yourself a love note with a specific topic of why is no a gift? What are you taking away from this idea? Maybe you actually still think it's crazy, but why is no a gift for you? What are the benefits of hearing no? So I'm going to be quiet for a minute while you just do some writing. Write yourself in some notes. Receiving a gift is a benefit, right? It's something that we enjoy. It makes life wonderful for us to receive a gift. So what are the benefits of hearing no? And as you come up with your own list, maybe you can think of one thing that's a benefit and put it into the chat. And I'm making a list. Thanks, Kay, because it supports honesty and integrity of the relationship. I love it. So that's what I would like to see, more of the gifts for no. Then I'll add it to my list, and then you'll be able to see it in the notes after the call. And there are a lot of gifts. This is a wonderful birthday celebration,
Yeah.
life celebration.
Mhm. You wanna say something?
We'll read a few of them for the recording. Joy, you want to take turns? You read one and then I'll read one.
Okay.
Let's see where we
You
can start.
yeah.
Let's start at the bottom. Well, there's not going to be a bottom. It's going to keep coming here. So I don't know exactly where they started.
Okay,
So
keep going.
here's where
Oh,
they
there's a
start.
lot of them.
Here we go.
Okay.
So start with that one, with K.
So no is a gift because it supports honesty and integrity of the relationship.
Gift, a full yes rather than a half-hearted yes is important.
Self-respect, self-care, and self-love.
Feedback,
Willingness,
a way to practice creativity to find a new yes.
balance, harmony,
Honesty.
safety for honesty.
Yeah, creating a safe, brave environment for honesty. Yeah, I like that. It gives me more information about my needs, sense of being, and getting to know the other person better.
Shows me where the other person could benefit from empathy, connection.
No helps you know the other's needs and respect their boundaries.
Self-connection, authenticity.
Trust in the strength of the connection.
Growth and healing.
Connection.
interconnected,
Mm,
interconnectedness.
I see a theme here. Helps me to find other strategies.
Healing from times we couldn't say no.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Gifts of no, because the authenticity leads to connection and finding what would meet both our needs, which brings more connection.
Uh-huh. Clarity, self-connection, connection with the other.
In the last exercise, I wrote a note to myself: do not intellectualize or justify the no. Let the needs shine through.
Mm. And then next is self-respect and joy.
Yeah, so needs can feed needs. The gift of hearing no is that I may be nearer to hearing what is deeply important to the person.
Hearing their no with care could be so honoring for them and meet needs to be heard.
Becoming aware of my needs, getting to understand myself, appreciate my needs, being able to choose other strategies, empowerment, creativity, appreciate the other person's needs.
Oh,
It's so much
yeah.
fun watching all of you nod your head as I read this.
I get a chance to choose for myself, which a half-hearted yes won't allow. I enjoy that choice and clarity.
An opportunity to explore the feelings and needs behind the no, fostering growth and deeper kinship.
Because it matters to me that when the other person makes a contribution to my life, they do it wholeheartedly.
Learning. Very rich for me. Keep going if you'd like, but I'm going to go and give you our little announcements that we often do at the end of the class. So if you would like to be on our email list and you're not on it yet, then you can you can put it in the chat right now and I'll harvest it at the end of the call. That's the easiest way.
But
And
if you prefer, there's a link.
Yeah.
If you give them the mailing list.
yeah, if you don't want to put it
Right
into the
there.
chat, you can.
Lower.
Yeah, coming. And secondly, where's the chat? I've
You
been
didn't
moving
put
things.
the mail list in yet.
I'm working on it. I gotta find the chat first.
Okay.
Got things,
Right
I got
there,
things
right here,
over on the
Rodney.
corner here.
Yeah,
There we
right
go.
there.
Oops.
Oops, where
There
it
we
was there. a minute.
go. Okay. In the chat. Now here comes the link to our mail list. Okay. And so also, if you want to give feedback on today's class, you can go to this Google form. I think there's only 4 questions on it, so it probably won't take you more than a minute or so, unless you want to go deeper.
But it's good for our feedback so that we can actually continue to grow and be more effective as well.
As I mentioned at the beginning of the call, we record all of these classes, and there's 2 places that you'll be able to see them. One is on our website, pathwaystoliberation.com, and the other is on our YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and you sign up to join the channel, you'll get an email that notifies you when the new recordings go up.
And just so it's really clear, what he just put in are 2 separate links.
Yeah. Okay. And then finally for today, and then I'd love to hear Corey's poem, if you're still willing, Corey, is Jory and I are planning to go to Bali, which is in Indonesia, a lovely, lovely place that we got to visit about 25, 30 years ago now.
Yeah.
But we're going back there,
Yeah.
and we'd like to take you with us in our suitcase, but we can't do that. So we'd like to meet you there instead. And that would be in October, it starts. There is a link at cnbc.org that will tell you exactly how to join or investigate more about that thing. I know some people on this call are going to be there. We're going to have a blast. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to be in a beautiful place. Almost everything is outdoors. So, and Indonesia is extremely, for my interpretation, is that Indonesia is very has a high value of protection. So they require you to be vaccinated before you go to into their country. So if that's an issue for you, then go to another IIT, not in Indonesia. But
Come play with us, yes.
come play it with us in a place where everybody's going to be vaccinated
If that,
and
yes.
outdoors for almost everything. So if you're going to do an IIT, we hope that this is the safest one that's ever existed. We're counting on it because we're between the two of us, we got almost 135 years, something like that. And so, so Corey, would you be willing to share your poetry with us?
Okay. So I wrote this from the viewpoint of a young child. You know, a lot of times children go through this phase where they say no a lot. They're usually 2 or 3, and sometimes older. And if they don't go through it then, they go through it when they're teenagers. If you've had teenagers, you notice that. But this is a 3-year-old speaking, okay, from her perspective. It's called The Yes Inside My No. When I, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So when I say no, I want you to see something is very important to me. Inside my no, there is a yes. What could it be? Would you like to guess? When I say no to going to bed, what do I want to do instead? Sometimes I want to have more play or to have you longer in my day. I might say no to express my voice or because I want to have a choice. When you tell me we have to go, do you wonder why sometimes I'm slow? I might need more time, a different pace to be ready when you want to race. I might to finish what I started to do. Is that ever important to you? I could be tired or needing some touch when I say no to doing so much. And when I say aloud no word, I'm letting you know I want to be heard. Sometimes I say no hour after hour because I want to feel some power. It would feel so good to hear you say, you see what matters to me today. Even if you do not agree, will you try to understand me? And when you decide to correct me, would you also show some empathy? I'd like to know what you need too. That would help me to understand you. Maybe we could find a way to meet both of our needs today. So would you listen and try to guess what's inside my no? Would you hear my yes?
Oh, that's beautiful.
Thank you, Corey.
Beautiful. That's beautiful.
I'd love
Put it in the
to,
chat.
I'd love to use that as a handout for this class. If you'd be willing to email me that, I'll put it up on our website. I'm very, very touched.
Yes, it is.
I wish when I had a 3-year-old, I wish I had read your poem. I wish I would have had it on my mirror and read it every day. Thank you. I have tears in my eyes.
Oh, that's so sweet. I was a kindergarten teacher, so I know that age, and they taught me, so they were my greatest teachers about authenticity, you know. They're just so real, and sometimes it's hard to take in a way because, you know, how do you manage all of that, particularly when you have 24 in a classroom? But
A lot of no's. That's a lot of yeses.
it's a lot of practice, and thank God I had Marshall in my life to do it with. Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, if you can put it into Radical Compassion
And
Okay.
.com, that'll go to both Jim and I.
I'll put it in the chat. And so we're at the top of the hour here, the bottom of the hour in India. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to play with you all today. And we will continue next week with this investigation of now what? Now that we've heard the no, and we got the need behind it, how do we begin to move into collaboration? And so that's what we'll work on next week. And we'll also open up rooms here in just a second for you to connect. Usually a few people stay afterwards for what we call the after party. and you're welcome to do that.
And you'll see it says radicalcompassion@gmail.com in the chat. If you want to reach us, that's an email that will go to both of us.
Yeah. All right, Mary, go ahead. Then we'll end the call.
Can I please receive the poem Corey just read?
Yeah, it'll be on our web. We'll put it up with as a handout with the video. So it'll be available with Corey's permission on
Maybe.
our website.
And how soon?
It'll be a day or two. As soon as I get
A
it
day
to
or
Corey.
two.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can also just send Corey, of course, a chat, a private chat here, and send her your email address, and maybe she'll fulfill it that way too. Really appreciate the poem. Does that work for you, Mary?
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Corey. I did give you my email address. I would love to receive this beautiful poem because a friend of mine, her 10-year-old daughter keeps saying no to school. And she's been so frustrated. And this poem I want to share with her.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very inspiring. All right, I made 3 random groups. And if you don't want to stay, of course, you don't have to stay. And if anybody ends up alone, we'll move you in just a couple of seconds.
We
So
call it the after party.
yeah, so come and party. We'll talk to you next week. Aloha, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye-bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.